Right now on Morning News Now, on the defensive, President Trump addressing the nation in an 18-minute primetime speech, touting his policies and blaming his predecessor, former President Biden, for issues like high prices and immigration.
11 months ago, I inherited a mess, and I'm fixing it. He was always blaming Congress and everyone else. As it turned out, we didn't need legislation. We just needed a new president.
And on Capitol Hill, some progress in the fight to fund health care for millions of Americans. We will take you to Washington. Also, the son of Hollywood legend Rob Reiner facing a judge for the first time since his arrest over the killing of his parents, found stabbed to death in their home. And in Rhode Island, authorities searching for a second person in connection to that mass shooting at Brown University. We will bring you the latest there. Plus, outbreak concerns, cases of a new severe flu variant on the rise across the U.S., why doctors say this strain could make the vaccine less effective. And a plot twist fit for Hollywood. The Oscars are shifting away from broadcast and into streaming thanks to a new exclusive deal with YouTube. We've got more on the move and what it could signal for the entertainment industry. That is a pretty big headline.
Most definitely a sign of the times as well. Good morning. Good to have you with us. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers. Thank you very much for starting your morning with us. We are happy you're here. We're going to begin our show in Washington, where President Trump delivered a combative primetime address last night. The president touted his accomplishments and repeatedly blasted his predecessor, Joe Biden, for most of the country's current problems.
With approval ratings slumping, the president's 18-minute speech at the White House mostly focused on the economy and immigration. He made a wide variety of claims, some of which were misleading, some were outright false. Here's a little bit of what he said.
11 months ago, I inherited a mess, and I'm fixing it. When I took office, inflation was the worst in 48 years, and some would say in the history of our country, which caused prices to be higher than ever before, making life unaffordable for millions and millions of Americans. This happened during a Democrat administration, and it's when we first began hearing the word affordability. Starting on day one, I took immediate action to stop the invasion of our southern border. For the past 7 months, 0 illegal aliens have been allowed into our country, a feat which everyone said was absolutely impossible. We're bringing our economy back from the brink of ruin. The last administration and their allies in Congress looted our treasury for trillions of dollars, driving up prices and everything at levels never seen before. I am bringing those high prices down and bringing them down very fast. 1 year ago, our country was dead. We were absolutely dead. Our country was ready to fail, totally failed. Now, we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. I'm also taking on the gigantic health insurance companies that have gotten rich on billions of dollars of money that should go directly to the people. The money should go to the people. That's you. So they can buy their own health insurance, which will give far better benefits at much lower cost. We're putting America first, and we are making America great again. Very simple. We are making America great again. Tonight, after 11 months, our border is secure. Inflation is stopped. Wages are up. Prices are down. Our nation is strong.
In a few moments, we are going to get reaction from lawmakers with NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Melanie Zanona. Before that, let's bring in our White House correspondent Monica Alba. So, Monica, in some ways, this was a typical address from President Trump boasting about achievements while criticizing Democrats. Why did the president want to make this speech in primetime in the first place? Just what was the overarching message?
Well, Joe and Savannah, I think you hinted at it there in the introduction. This is a president who has been on defense specifically when it comes to the economy. He's been incredibly defensive. You heard him there talking about the fact that he believes he inherited a, quote, mess and that now he is trying to fix it. So he was really trying to place a lot of blame on his predecessor in a really high-profile prime-time address. This is something that the president often talks about in his political events or in a rally speech, but to do it from the White House House in the way that he did is really trying to hammer home the way that he views this ahead potentially of the 2026 midterms, and trying to frame this idea that, again, there's a disconnect between the way a majority of Americans are feeling about affordability concerns and the way that this president and this White House are viewing it. So the White House argued that he wanted to come out and give his own take on that and tell Americans essentially to be patient. His message was, you are eventually going to feel the benefits of what he says are his own perceived accomplishments on the economy this year. And so he was telling people it's just going to take some time. That was his main message last night.
Monica, we mentioned the president made some of these questionable or false statements during this speech. Let's fact check it. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, and this was actually a shorter speech, right, than what we typically see. So in 18 minutes, there's a lot of context that's required to really explain some of these comments that were either not factual or misleading. Let's start when we look at something like prices. The president specifically called out the price of eggs, saying that they've fallen 87%, but in reality, it's closer to 43%. So a little bit misleading there. And what's really important on the prices point is that we don't have a complete picture of government data because of the government shutdown. So we're missing a couple of months there. But those statistics are based on the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. When we move on to immigration, for instance, the president said that 25 million people crossed over the border or entered the country illegally, he said, in the Biden administration. In reality, again, according to government data from CBP, it's somewhere between 7 and 10 million. So that was a figure that we couldn't find any factual basis for. Something that the White House has been touting that is true is the fact that gas prices are coming down. They are falling. The president cited some statistics about a national average that's a little bit lower than the national average that we could find, but that was true. And then when you look at something like drug prices, the president touted the fact that he's been making these deals with drug makers, saying that really these prices have fallen dramatically, but we haven't actually seen the price reductions. Customers haven't been able to benefit from them yet, since we don't have the exact details on how some of those deals were made. So that impact could come still, but it's not a reality in the way that the president touted it quite yet.
Yeah, he said drug prices cut 400, 500%, which is mathematically impossible, actually. Monica, we should also talk about the president announcing this holiday bonus for U.S. service members. He's calling it a warrior dividend. What's this all about, and how is it going to be paid for?
So this is going to be a one-time payment that essentially, according to the president, will come somehow from tariff revenue. That is what he said last night, though we have asked the White House for more details on that, because typically with such a large figure, something like that is going to be more than $2 billion total. That's something that might have to be appropriated by Congress. So we're waiting for more details. But here's how the president explained why he wanted to do this and what the actual amount is.
1,450,000 military service members will receive a special, we call warrior dividend before Christmas, a warrior dividend in honor of our nation's founding in 1776. We are sending every soldier $1,776.
So obviously a symbolic amount there, but something that stood out to me and that was interesting, guys, is the president has been talking about Venezuela so much recently over the course of the last few days and weeks, but that was not something that was included in the speech, even though he did, of course, praise military members and speak more generally about wanting to take on the war on drugs. Right. Joe and Savannah.
A lot to cover. Monica, thank you.
For more from Washington, let's bring in NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Melanie Zanona. Mel, good morning. So how have lawmakers been responding to the president's speech?
Yeah, good morning, guys. Not surprisingly, the reactions have largely fallen along party lines. But I do want to start with Republicans, because they have been pleading with President Trump to focus more on the economy, to highlight his affordability agenda, and to stop dismissing cost concerns as a hoax. And so they largely got what they had been looking for last night with that speech, which was much more polished and at least scripted than what we've seen, especially when Trump has been out on the campaign trail in recent months. So we saw a lot of praise. We saw a lot of Republicans cheering after this speech, including Steve Scalise. He's the #2 Republican. He wrote on social media, in just 11 months, one thing is clear. President Trump is delivering for the American people, from securing the border and keeping deadly drugs out of our country to putting more money in Americans' pockets, unleashing American energy, lowering prices, and restoring peace through strength. POTUS is getting it done. Best part, we're just getting started. Now, it's unclear if that message is going to resonate with voters, but clearly at least Democrats are not buying that message. I do want to read for you part of what Chuck Schumer, the Democratic leader, said. He said President Trump's speech showed he lives in a bubble completely disconnected from the reality everyday Americans are seeing and feeling. People are being squeezed harder and harder every day, and tonight Donald Trump took a victory lap. So a little preview there of the likely messaging battles to come as we get closer and closer to the midterms, where affordability, no doubt, is going to take center stage.
And healthcare will no doubt take center stage. And we know, Mel, late last night, the House did pass a healthcare bill. No surprise, it did not include an extension of the Obamacare tax subsidies that are set to expire next week. But I guess this issue is not over. We could now see a vote on this extension in the new year. Tell us more about that.
That's exactly right. I do want to make clear that the House and Senate are both leaving today without having addressed these Obamacare subsidies, which are expiring at the end of the year. But that being said, a group of moderate Republicans did band together with a Democratic-led effort that's going to force a future vote on this issue. It was just a remarkable act of defiance that we saw in the House yesterday. So what this means is that the Speaker of the House now has 7 legislative days to schedule a floor vote on the bill, which is a 3-year clean extension of the Affordable Care Act subsidies. Once that passes the House sometime in January, then it heads to the Senate. But there is a big question about what senators will do because they already rejected a similar proposal earlier this month. So the hope, at least among supporters of this effort, is that the House action combined with the pressure from constituents as they start to feel the real world impacts, it's going to create an environment where senators are more inclined to come together to cut a bipartisan deal.
Mel, we also want to ask you some other news from Congress. The Senate passing a $900 billion defense policy bill yesterday. What's in it?
The core of that package includes funding for military infrastructure projects, but there are some other key provisions as well, including a nearly 4% pay raise for the troops, as well as a provision that would withhold Pete Hegseth, that's the secretary's budget, his travel budget, unless they turn over the unedited boat strike video on that Venezuela boat from September 2nd. So they want the committees to actually be in possession of that unedited footage, even though multiple committees have seen it. They say now it's on them to actually turn it over and transmit it to Congress.
All right, Mel Zanona, thank you very much.
Let's stay on Capitol Hill. Former special counsel Jack Smith was in the hot seat there yesterday. Lawmakers grilled him about his investigation into President Trump's attempt to overturn the 2020 election.
Smith was subpoenaed to testify as part of a Republican-led investigation into the 2020 election interference case that the president sought publicly. In the closed-door hearing, Smith defended his prosecutorial decisions. He said his team found, quote, proof beyond a reasonable doubt that Trump had engaged in a criminal scheme to overturn the election.
NBC News senior justice reporter Ryan Riley joins us now with more on this. Ryan, good morning. So this is a hearing that took place behind closed doors, even though Smith wanted it to happen in public. Tell us more about what he had to say and how Democratic lawmakers are reacting.
Yeah, I mean, essentially what we know from his testimony is that he emphasized that he had a very solid case against Donald Trump and that they could have gotten a conviction in court had this case been allowed to go to trial. But because Donald Trump was elected, this case was dismissed. Under Justice Department precedent, you cannot continue a case against a sitting president. So it wasn't about the merits of the case so much as it was just about the overall Justice Department policy. But, you know, based on that testimony, essentially what you're looking at here is a battle between Republicans who are seeking to undermine this investigation and undercut it, and Jack Smith, who's saying that this was all very warranted and that they did things by the book and correctly. And so, you know, the fact that this wasn't public, that's something that Jack Smith wanted, but that's something that Republicans denied. And I think that Raskin went to the camera and actually talked about this afterwards. Take a listen.
Chairman Jordan made an excellent decision in not allowing Jack Smith to testify publicly, because had he done so, it would have been absolutely devastating to the president and all of the president's men involved in the insurrectionary activities of January the 6th. His report speaks for itself in terms of January the 6th and the indictments that were handed down, and the other report should be public. I mean, that's just absolutely aberrational that it's not public.
So thus far, we haven't seen any leaks from Republicans about what exactly happened during this testimony, but I think that's something we could potentially look forward to in the future, Joe.
What has the reaction been like from Republicans and the Trump administration?
Yeah, because of all that was happening yesterday, we haven't seen too much. But usually how the playbook works here, and I think what Jack Smith was sort of anticipating is that they were going to sort of find these selections and selectively bring out various parts of the testimony to sort of churn up controversy about what happened in that hearing. That was sort of the entire playbook, the reason that it's happening behind the scenes. And I think what happened here was you had a situation where Jack Smith sort of got ahead, and at least for this round, we'll see how it plays out in the future. But it seems that Jack Smith came out ahead for at least on the public relations side of this.
Right, let's shift gears. We want to ask you about an update related to Jeffrey Epstein. The Justice Department has till tomorrow to publicly release all the files under that law that Congress passed last month, giving them 30 days. But yesterday we saw Epstein's associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, petitioning a federal court to try and overturn her sex trafficking conviction from 2021. She says there's new evidence that shows she didn't get a fair trial. What is this alleged new evidence? Could this complicate the release of the files?
Yeah, I think the most interesting component of this is that it was a pro se filing, meaning that this was something that she did on her own without a lawyer. So it means that she's probably been hitting up the law library at the prison she's being held at. And essentially what she's arguing is that a lot of this new information would have changed the circumstances of her trial. Remember, the Supreme Court has already sort of rejected her request. So this is kind of a last ditch effort to try to get a new trial. And I think that it's to be seen. It remains to be seen whether it will be successful. But generally, these pro se, meaning cases that are brought forward by a defendant themselves, these motions are not usually successful. So we'll see how that plays out. But until we're going to have to wait to see what the courts say about it.
Ryan, quickly before we let you go, another development from yesterday. Dan Bongino announced he'd be leaving his position as deputy director of the FBI in January. As someone who covers federal law enforcement, what more can you tell us about this? What do you make of it?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of talk about Dan Bongino behind the scenes. He's not someone who, in between him and Kash Patel, even between those two FBI employees, career FBI employees are not huge fans of Dan Bongino, and I think that there's been a lot of tension between him and the Justice Department, including with Attorney General Pam Bondi. So we're talking about only 9 months into the job here. He was a very untraditional choice for this position, given that he was a podcaster before he came to this and made a lot of really inflammatory comments about the FBI and accusing them of all sorts of cover-ups. And now he's in a position where he's ready to sort of go back to the podcasting realm and get home to his family.
All right, Ryan Riley, thank you so much.
Well, the son of legendary filmmaker Rob Reiner and his wife Michele made his first court appearance in LA yesterday since being charged in their murder. Nick Reiner, shown here, we're going to show you, appeared in a blue vest, which means he is under high observation while in custody. That's him in this sketch. He stayed mostly silent during the hearing. He is facing first-degree murder charges, which could make him eligible for the death penalty. NBC News correspondent Morgan Chesky has been following the story and has the latest from Los Angeles. Morgan, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Nick Reiner remains behind bars today, being held without bail following his first public court appearance in downtown Los Angeles. And we were there inside that room watching his defense team led by known attorney Alan Jackson walk in. And then in the corner of the room, almost hidden from sight, you could see the 32-year-old seated, shackled, and silent. The only words uttered by Nick Reiner during this arraignment hearing were, "Yes, Your Honor," in response to the judge's question that he understood his team was asking to delay his arraignment until January of next year. Authorities say that he right now is still being held behind bars, but we're learning new details about where he was and when. A new surveillance video showing the 32-year-old buying a drink from a gas station just hours after the horrific discovery of his parents' bodies, Rob and Michele Reiner, inside their Brentwood home. A medical examiner's report just released confirmed their cause of death by sharp force objects. That lining up with what we heard from police saying that the murder weapon was in fact a knife. And because of that, the charges of first-degree murder could actually be elevated. Now, the maximum sentence, life in prison without the possibility of parole or the death penalty. But the DA is saying that he has not made that decision at this point in time. And for the first time, we're also hearing from the adult children of Rob and Michele Reiner. Jake and his sister Romy, they released a statement reading in part, "The horrific and devastating loss of our parents, Rob and Michele Reiner, is something that no one should ever experience." We'll send it back to you.
Morgan Chesky, thank you.
Authorities in Rhode Island are facing mounting pressure to find the gunman who killed 2 students at Brown University last weekend. They've already asked the public for help in finding this person of interest seen in surveillance video near the campus on the day of the shooting. Now investigators are looking for a second person who police say was in proximity to the person of interest. NBC News correspondent Aaron McLaughlin joins us now from Providence, Rhode Island with the latest on the investigation. Aaron, good morning.
Joe, good morning. It's 5 days in and still no suspect. Authorities once again appealing to the public for help.
I believe that is probably the most intense investigation going on right now in this nation.
This morning, amid growing pressure to capture the suspect in the Brown University mass shooting, Providence police now asking for the public's help in identifying this individual, dressed in a jacket and hoodie, who officials say was in proximity to the person of interest around the time of the shooting.
So we want to make sure that we don't miss anything, and so that's why we're asking the public to help us.
Authorities also releasing this color-coordinated map that shows the areas police have been searching. The green areas indicating the person of interest location before the shooting, and in red where he was seen after.
We have 1,200 cameras located throughout the campus. We don't publish the locations of the cameras. That would give a map to somebody to evade detection on the cameras.
Facing scrutiny about the university's security systems, Brown writing in a statement Wednesday, "We will do a large-scale systematic security review of the entire campus." As the investigation enters its 6th day, members of the Providence community say they feel uneasy, with the killer still on the loose.
It does get worrying then the longer it goes on.
While some students, including the friend of victim Mohammed Aziz Mirzakov, say security measures need to change.
I do think it would be a good idea for them to implement some stricter security measures to prevent something like this from happening again.
Now, behind me, you see the more modern part of the building. That's the part of the building that has cameras. In back of that is the older portion of the building that does not have cameras. That's where authorities say the shooting took place. Yesterday, the Attorney General said he believes had the shooting taken place in the more modern part of the building, the suspect would have been caught on camera and they'd have arrested him by now. Joe.
All right, Aaron, thank you.
Well, another college community is in shock this morning after a beloved nuclear science professor at MIT was murdered in front of his own home Monday night. Now an urgent search is underway in Boston to find the suspect and determine their motive. NBC News correspondent Sam Brock has the latest on the investigation.
The mystery and heartache hanging over MIT's campus.
So tragic, so frightening, so insane.
After world-renowned professor Nuno Loureiro, the head of MIT's Plasma Science and Fusion Center, was gunned down in the entrance to his building.
Reported gunshots. Father was shot multiple times.
48 hours later, the search for his killer intensifying. The 47-year-old physicist killed in the upscale Boston suburb of Brookline was a father of 3 daughters and a brilliant researcher, according to Bruno Gonçalves, who worked with Loureiro for years in Portugal.
How would you describe the level of shock and devastation in the scientific community when this news was learned?
Well, everyone was extremely shocked by the violence of the event, shocked because he was a really nice person.
Brookline police referring NBC News to the Norfolk County DA's office, which said in a statement, this is an active and ongoing homicide investigation. No further information is being released at this time. While 50 miles away in Providence, authorities knocking down any notion that there could be a link to the tragedy at Brown. The investigating agencies have not yet responded to NBC News' request for information about a possible motive, as Gonçalves just wants clarity.
We need to make justice, but also we need to understand what was behind such an attack and the motivations, because if the motivations was related with the type of work that we are doing, then it's a really concern for the whole community.
Sam Brock, NBC News.
All right, this morning, tens of millions are under wind alerts. At least 7 million in the Pacific Northwest are still facing flood watches ahead of the holiday travel season.
Still a lot going on. Angie Lastman is here in studio tracking everything you need to know with your Morning News Now weather. Hi, Angie. Good morning.
Hi, guys. Good morning. We've got a couple of systems that we're kind of going to be monitoring over the next couple of days to impact some of that travel that you might be getting into ahead of the holiday. Here's the big picture look. Your satellite and radar showing a couple of things. We've got some rain focused across parts of the southeast. We've also got some rain and a wintry mix and some snow and again, some really strong winds across the midsection of the country. And then out west, we're gearing up for that next kind of atmospheric river event to take shape. So let's start with what we're dealing with in the middle of the country. We've got winter alerts up for 7 million people. It does include parts of the northern plains, and that's part of that broader system that's kind of sliding to the east. This really ramped up some wind yesterday across parts of the Rockies, but you can see today it's the snow showers and the strong winds for the northern plains, and then that cold rain stretching anywhere from the Great Lakes down through parts of the south. As it works to the east through the day tomorrow, it brings all of those impacts to folks there. We'll see especially kind of stronger lake effect snow happening there, and then we'll see those blustery winds and some rain across the east coast. I mentioned the wind being quite impressive. We've got 88 million people still under these wind alerts, and it's the middle of the country, some folks out west, and then parts of the northeast. And really, yesterday, some impressive wind speeds. We saw wind speeds over 100 miles per hour coming out of Boulder. So not quite as impressive through the day today, but still impactful nonetheless. You've got low 60s, mid 50s for those peak gusts that you could see. Des Moines ending up anywhere into the upper 40s for those peak gusts through Friday. And then I mentioned the northeast under those wind alerts too, and you can see why. 30, 40, 50 plus mile per hour gusts through Friday. The atmospheric river event that we're now watching just starting to take shape. You can see some of that moisture working on in for folks up and down the west coast, specifically the Pacific Northwest, where we see those flood watches in effect. These are going to stay with us through Saturday. So we've got additional rainfall from this event kind of moving in, and this wave of rain is going to bring this next wave is going to bring heavy rain and snow to this region. So you guessed it, with additional strong winds, that's going to be a kind of travel headache for folks there. And we already know that we're concerned about levees, we're concerned about landslides, mudslides, all of those things going into the next day or so. And some of that does work its way into parts of California. So this is farther south than that previous atmospheric river event that we were watching. So we'll see Northern California get in on this action and really picking up a kind of good dose of additional rain across these regions, guys. Anywhere from 8 to 10 inches in isolated areas across already saturated ground. So the concern continues for folks across the Pacific Northwest.
Just can't get a break there.
They really can't. Yeah, we're hoping that on the backside of this, we'll get a little bit of time to kind of dry out, but we'll see.
Oh, all right. Thanks, Angie. Of
course.
Much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, a startling spike in flu cases across the U.S. And health experts worry this new strain will be more severe. Doctors want you to know.
Up first, though, a somber day in Sydney as the youngest victim in the mass shooting at Bondi Beach is laid to rest. We'll be right back. Welcome back this morning. Hundreds of mourners have gathered in Australia to grieve the loss of a 10-year-old who was killed during the mass shooting at Bondi Beach over the weekend. Matilda, whose last name is being withheld at the request of her family, was the youngest of the 15 victims of the anti-Semitic attack after 2 gunmen opened fire at this Hanukkah celebration in Sydney. It is now the nation's deadliest mass shooting in decades. NBC News correspondent Danielle Hamamjian joins us with the latest. Danielle, good morning. Thank you for being with us. So first, just tell us about the service for Matilda. How's she being remembered?
Yeah, the trauma is still so raw. The grief is unspeakable. How do you say goodbye to a 10-year-old child who was smiling and playing seconds before she was killed is simply torture for the surviving parents. She was known as Matilda B, who loved animals. For that reason, there were bumblebee balloons and stickers everywhere as mourners gathered for her funeral. Her family had come from Ukraine for a better life in Australia. She was playing with her sister on the beach moments before the attack. She was separated from her parents when she went to pet some of the animals on the beach. And when the gunman began firing, her mother later said she thought the shots were actually fireworks. Her father later described what it was like holding his daughter after she was shot. He said she was in a state of shock. She said it was hard to breathe. He tried to keep her calm. She later died in hospital. Now, this evening, a crowd gathered at Bondi Beach and began singing Jewish songs, as well as a popular Australian song called Waltzing Matilda. Images of that 10-year-old girl have become sort of the center of this collective grief. Her mother had previously explained that she was the first in the family born in Australia, and she thought Matilda was the most Australian name that exists, hence her name. Savannah.
It's just heartbreaking to hear. Danielle, what kind of changes is the Australian government contemplating in the wake of this attack to prevent something like this from happening again? And I think that that's a really important question because Australia has pretty strict gun laws. This is very rare to see something like this happen, and yet there is change that's being contemplated. Tell us about that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And in the immediate aftermath of the attack, the Prime Minister had been criticised for focusing on tougher gun laws instead of the group that was targeted, i.e. the Jewish community. The government today announcing it is tightening laws surrounding hate speech and introducing reforms. The PM vowing to go after organisations whose leaders promote racial hatred. He said the government will have new powers to cancel or reject visas for those who spread what they call heightened division in the country. There is a visceral anger in the Jewish community. We could hear it especially today from those in the funerals, the mourners, the survivors of the attack, who say they had been warning about rising anti-Semitism during the 2-year war in Gaza, but many accuse the government of not having taken that threat seriously. Take a listen.
I regret anyone in this position would regret not doing more in any inadequacies which are there. But what we need to do is to move forward. We are taking action. We have taken action. Previously, since I've been Prime Minister, we have taken action. We'll continue to do more. And today as well won't be the end.
Now, the government said it had denounced anti-Semitism in the past, taking steps like expelling the Iranian ambassador, but the Prime Minister today clearly admitting more needs to be done. Savannah?
Danielle, thank you very much. Well, back here at home, the state of New York is joining 12 other states and Washington, D.C. in allowing terminally ill people to end their own lives, putting an end to a debate between right-to-die advocates and religious leaders. Democratic Governor Kathy Hochul announced yesterday she will sign the Medical Aid in Dying Act into law. Reporter Andrew Siff from NBC4 New York has a look at this deeply personal issue.
Frankly, Andrew, he asked me to help him end his life, and I said no.
Stacey Gibson's husband, Sid, was 67 years old when he battled a terminal illness a decade ago. Racked with pain and suffering daily, he made a decision.
He had to starve himself to death through voluntarily stopping eating and drinking. And that took him 12 days. And to see somebody starve themselves to death is just cruel and inhuman.
So Stacey became an advocate for a new law that Governor Hochul officially backed. The governor met with families in her office discussing the Medical Aid in Dying Act. New York becoming the 13th state, including New Jersey, to legalize assisted suicide. If someone has less than 6 months left to live, the patient may request medication to be self-administered for the purpose of hastening the patient's death.
Who am I to deny you or your loved one what they're begging for at the end of their life?
The governor had faced major opposition to the bill from those who believe doctors might misdiagnose an ailment, leading to an unnecessary death, and those who object on religious grounds. But Hochul said it should be up to each patient.
I was moved by their courage, and I wanted to help them put an end to a decades-long journey.
The bill's assembly sponsor, Amy Paulin of Westchester, said the push for this law was personal and painful for legislators who've lost their own loved ones to terminal illnesses.
What haunts me, when my sister shouted out the last time I saw her, "When am I going to die already?" Those words still haunt me. And I just don't want that for my loved ones when I face my death.
Our thanks to Andrew Siff for that report. Coming up on Morning News Now, children at risk, doctors sounding the alarm on a surge in whooping cough cases nationwide.
Notice an increase in children presenting to the emergency room with it. And
Are they vaccinated?
None of the ones I've seen have been.
What parents should know as holiday gatherings begin. We'll be right back. We are back with a troubling surge of whooping cough among children across the country. More than 3,500 cases have already been reported this year, and experts say those numbers are likely to increase dramatically this month because of the holidays. NBC News correspondent Ann Thompson has the details.
Just 2 weeks old, Felina Owens had a cough bigger than she was. What was it about this cough that made you go, this isn't right?
Just the way she was struggling to breathe and turning gray-blue.
Her parents, Sophie and Justin, would take Felina to 3 doctor and ER visits in Texas before the diagnosis of whooping cough.
I think the longest she would stop breathing was about 11 seconds.
They did tell us that if we didn't bring her in when we did, there is a high possibility she wouldn't have seen the next day.
The disease, a medieval affliction. Since the 1940s, vaccine preventable. Felina's parents and older sister were vaccinated, but Felina, not yet 2 months old, was too young. She was airlifted to Dallas for a month's hospital stay in the NICU.
She was intubated and she had a feeding tube. She was just covered in tubes and wires.
Felina is part of a disturbing healthcare trend. Whooping cough cases quadrupling in Texas this year, numbers topping more than 26,000 nationwide, the highest in more than a decade, with 13 deaths. Now an NBC News investigation reveals dropping vaccination rates are likely fueling the surge. Of the more than 30 states that shared recent whooping cough vaccination data, our analysis found that about 70% of counties and jurisdictions were below the recommended rate for protection, putting millions at risk across the U.S.
We've noticed an increase in children presenting to the emergency room with it. And
Are they vaccinated?
None of the ones I've seen have been.
Dr. Rafael Matamal is a hospital pediatrician in Amarillo. Is it tougher to fight the disease or the misinformation?
Honestly, the misinformation. When we get into those patterns of rigid belief or orthodoxy based on what we've been exposed to, uprooting that or combating that becomes very difficult.
Felina has now recovered, and her parents still have no idea how she contracted the highly contagious disease.
I've learned that you shouldn't take this as a joke.
You don't know if your child is next. You just don't know.
A lesson this family's learned the hard way. Ann Thompson, NBC News, Texhoma, Texas.
Let's stay on health news now. Experts warned that we could be in for a more severe flu season this year. It's partly because of how early and how quickly flu cases have spread across the U.S. So we saw more than an 8% spike last week alone. That's according to CDC data. The agency estimates there have been nearly 3 million cases already this year. Experts say the surge is being driven by a new flu variant. It's called subclade K. This new strain can make the flu vaccine less effective, which is obviously a big concern. Let's bring in NBC News medical reporter Dr. Akshay Sal for more on this. Dr. Sal, good morning. You got to tell me if I pronounced this new strain right, but the CDC reports that the majority of flu cases so far this year have been this new variant, and that the flu shot can still help protect against severe illness and hospitalization. But I just mentioned there the concern that it is making it less effective. What's important for people to know here?
Good morning, Savannah. So, every year there's 2 types of flu really that cause these seasonal epidemics. There's flu A and there's flu B. And this subclade K you can see on your screen, there's actually a part of that flu A, but it's a little bit more mutated than I think most people expected. You can see on your screen it has this ability to spread faster and it can avoid immunity from vaccines and previous infections. And really, Savannah, what the story is, for the last several weeks, we've been watching overseas in the UK and in Japan, and they've really had these hard sort of what they're calling super flu seasons in the press where, they're sort of getting hit really, really hard, and we're sort of waiting to see if that will stay or if it will die down. Really what we think is that is all driven by this new variant, that's subclade K. But Savannah, the good news, just to cut to the chase here, there was some preliminary data out of the UK suggesting that the flu vaccine for this year, even though it's not a perfect match, can still provide protection against the most serious outcomes, including that hospitalization and severe disease.
Walk us through, Doctor, who is most at risk. I think we probably have an idea, but just let us know. And then also people, I think, very understandably, I've been confused before. Do I have the flu? Do I have COVID? Do I have RSV? Do I have something new we're concerned about? What are symptoms here specific to the flu that people should keep an eye on?
So, the symptoms for flu, they can be very similar between different viruses, but I think that the sort of hallmark we hear, Savannah, all the time is you sort of feel like you got hit by a freight train, and you can see their fever, chills, coughs, sore throat, things I think most of us know and things that are common between flu, COVID, and other viruses. Just look out for that sort of sudden onset. And I think people ask us all the time, why do I still need to get tested? And the reason I tell my patients is because most people do qualify for treatment. There is something we can prescribe you if you have the flu or if you have COVID. COVID. So it is still important to take a test if you have any of those symptoms, because it does matter at the end which virus you might have.
Parts of the U.S. have seen particularly bad spikes, right, in flu cases, and also some of those other illnesses I mentioned. One school, even in Kansas, was forced to start their winter break early because dozens of students and staff had called out sick just in one day. I mean, so many of us are about to get ready to spend time with friends and family. Christmas just next week. We know some of the basics. We know we should be washing our hands, maybe think about masking or something like that, but just give us those tips that we could do to lower the risk of getting sick when we've got multiple different generations gathering indoors this time of year.
Yeah, so Savannah, the number one thing we can do is to get that vaccine. And even though, like I was saying earlier, even though it's not a perfect match, the data from the UK does suggest it can protect against the most severe outcomes. But you know, that slide you just had on your screen there about those healthy habits to enhance immunity, you know, these are things we often think about to protect against heart disease, to protect against chronic illnesses, but they actually can boost your immunity. If we could just pull that on the screen there, these are tips that I give my patients. They're straight out of the CDC website. Making sure you are lifting weights, making sure you are exercising regularly, keeping that healthy weight, eating a diet, you know, low in processed foods, high in fruits and vegetables, getting those nutrients to support that immune system. And please, please get enough sleep and try to limit your alcohol. I know it's very hard right now. It's the holidays. We are going to holiday parties. You know, we should be having a good time, but just be mindful of those things, especially if you are high risk for the flu.
And if someone does come down with the flu, remind us treatment options here.
So there's an antiviral. There's a medication we can prescribe called Tamiflu, and if you know it turns out you do have COVID, there's an antiviral for that as well called Paxlovid. So still important to take that test. You can see on your screen there's some other tips to protect against the flu. You know, making sure you're washing your hands, staying home when you're sick, and it is still okay to wear a mask. Please put one on, especially if you're in a crowded area and you are high risk of severe illness. Savannah.
Dr. Sayal, always great to have you. Thank you very much. Good reminders there. Coming up, a Hollywood-style switch-up. The Academy Awards moving from traditional TV to the streaming world. The new partnership bringing the Oscars to YouTube and what it could signal for the entertainment industry. You're watching Morning News Now. Welcome back. Let's get to what's making news on Wall Street this morning, including Google's latest AI update that is now out. NBC News business and economy reporter Emily Lorsch has your Money Minute. Emily, good morning.
Hey, Savannah, good morning. That's right. The race to dominate AI is picking up speed. Google has released Gemini 3 Flash, which the company is saying is built for speed at a fraction of the cost. It's part of Google's push to compete head-to-head with leaders like OpenAI in speed, scale, and price. Users can now ask Gemini to understand their videos and turn that content into a helpful and actionable plan in just a few seconds. It's now the default model in the Gemini app and AI mode in search. And once again, no winner, leaving the Powerball prize to surge again. The jackpot is now estimated to be $1.5 billion, the fifth largest in the game's history. The cash value is nearly $700 million. The next drawing is Saturday night at 11, and if there's still no winner, that prize will just continue to climb even higher. Finally, the craze behind one of the world's hottest collectible toys may be cooling fast. Shares of Pop Mart have fallen about 40% as weaker Black Friday sales and slowing resale demand raise doubts about its viral Labubu. The pullback is seeing comparisons to the Beanie Babies bust years ago, challenging hopes that Pop Mart could evolve into a Disney-style powerhouse. Investors are watching whether Pop Mart's expansion overseas and new entertainment projects can sustain growth beyond the Little Monsters boom. Savannah, I was just having actually a couple of conversations with other people saying how easy now it is to get a Labubu.
Right. Oh my gosh, it was like absolutely impossible.
Unreal.
It also seems like one of those things like maybe we could have seen that coming, right? Like it was like so hot that it's going to burn out.
I still have a whole big bag of Beanie Babies just waiting for the day when those come back.
Those are worth so much money. Oh my God, I think my parents still have them in our garage too. Do you have a Labubu?
I do not.
Okay.
I couldn't get one.
I got one. Brian Chung got me one that we actually unboxed on the air, and
the
it was
little
the like
ones,
random
right?
little one with a letter, and I got an S.
Oh,
so
wow.
like I wasn't into it, but just because it's an S, I love him.
Perfect.
All right, thanks. All right, now to some other news. The biggest night in Hollywood is making the jump from the small screen to the even smaller screen. That's right, like much of Hollywood, the Oscars is shifting to streaming.
Yeah, the Oscars have aired on traditional TV since 1953 when they were broadcast live right here on NBC. ABC has had the rights since 1976, but now starting in 2029, the ceremony, the red carpet, the behind-the-scenes coverage will all be found exclusively on YouTube.
Entertainment journalist and pop culture expert, our good friend Brian Balthazar. Brian, good morning. Great to see you with us. So, just tell us, how big of a deal is this, and were people in the industry surprised by this?
I think the biggest surprise is that the Academy recognized that this is not where the media industry is headed. This is where it already is, right? Okay, so we saw that the last episode, or the last, I should say, broadcast of the Academy Awards reached around 19.7 million people. YouTube, on the other hand, reaches 122 million viewers a day. It is actually the largest streaming platform there is in the world. So this is an incredible move. Some people thought that maybe NBC would come back and be the place where it's all started. But in fact, the Academy said there are so many benefits to being in this partnership with YouTube.
I can already imagine parents and grandparents asking their kids and grandkids, where do I find the Oscars?
Because let me guess, how many times are you asked that about our show?
Right, exactly. So I'm going to have to make a trip home to set it up for them. All right, so this is more than a streaming deal. It's also a partnership with YouTube's owner, which is Google. What are some of the ways the Academy hopes to benefit from that?
There are so many. First of all, let's start with global reach. This is the first time that it'll be available basically in real time around the world. Now, yes, it's available around the world in the past, but in the past that the Academy had to negotiate all these partnership agreements. This will be one-stop shopping. And to your point, the demographics, the older people, YouTube reaches their primary audience is 25 to 54-year-olds. Of course, older people like me, I hate to say it, but are going to be able to find it. You're not going to be able to escape it. And that's part of it. The Google partnership is what's really valuable here. There is no network in the world that can afford the advertising and marketing spend that YouTube, Google, and Gmail can provide. Don't make no mistake. You will find this on your Gmail. You will find it in your Google search. You will know where it is. It is going to be all over the place. And finally, the interactivity of it all. It's interesting. Viral Oscar moments don't happen on the show. They happen later. The viewers decide, and they put those moments on YouTube. They put them on social media. So the partnership gives viewers at home an opportunity. And we have only just begun to think about the ways in which we'll be able to interact in real time with what's happening, both on stage and backstage. There are going to be so many ways they're going to mix it up.
Brian, ratings for award ceremonies have been in decline for years now. And I'm wondering if I don't know if you guys remember when Amazon, for example, for the first time did a live election night, and they really kind of changed the model. It looked different, it felt different. Do you think YouTube tries to switch up the format to try to get more ratings, or is that tough with such a storied broadcast like the Oscars?
Well, what I think is so unique about what YouTube and Google can do here is they can have multiple channels streaming simultaneously. So you'll have your main broadcast, and you may be able to have a picture-in-picture. We know that when the winner walks off the stage, they go to another room and they start talking to the press. Maybe in real time, we'll be able to switch over and see, I love Jennifer Lawrence. Let's see what she has to say right now. We may be able to see what's happening on the red carpet at the same time that we're seeing things going, what's happening in different areas of the show. They're going to make sure that this is a really robust viewing experience. And I can't wait to see what they're going to do, because they have an opportunity to give us multiple places to go in one place.
Brian, we just have a few seconds here, but earlier this week, the Oscars released its short list of nominations in 12 categories. That includes the new one, casting. What movies are in the lead?
Okay, so looking at the short list, we're looking at Sinners. That's been mentioned 8 times. Nominations, I should say. Wicked for Good 8 times, and One Battle After Another. This is so interesting because sometimes technical and creative nominations don't necessarily lead to Best Picture wins. Right. Obviously, only one person can win Best Picture, but it does give you an idea of what people are talking about.
Yeah, One Battle After Another might be the early frontrunner here. We'll see.
I still have to see it. Brian, thank you so much. And the full Oscar nominations will be announced on January 22nd. Those awards will be hosted by Conan O'Brien. They will air live on ABC this year on Sunday, March 15th, starting at 7 p.m. Coming up next here on Morning News Now, making spirits bright.
Special delivery for bacon! Thank you.
When we return, we're going to take you inside one Houston hospital where some of the youngest patients are getting in the holiday spirit. We'll be right back. Finally this hour, a Houston hospital is pulling out all the stops to get young patients excited to deck the halls.
NBC News correspondent Priscilla Thompson shows us how she got to help bring the holiday cheer.
Oh, it's so cool.
Eyes all aglow.
Touch his nose.
4-year-old Reagan is on the hunt for the perfect tree at a different kind of Christmas tree farm.
Reagan, look.
Oh.
Inside Texas Children's Hospital, more than 200 hand-decorated kid-sized trees, filled with baseballs, butterflies, Labubus, even K-pop demon hunters.
What's your favorite song to sing?
Soda Pop. You're my soda pop.
Each young patient can pick a tree that gets delivered to their room, bringing Christmas cheer to kids like Reagan, who will spend their holidays here.
It's nice to have her be able to come out and, pick her own little tree to kind of speaks to her personality. Have you decided which one is your favorite?
Mm-hmm. Yes? Let me show you.
You picked this one?
Yeah, you bring it for me?
Yes, I will bring it for you.
With that, we loaded the sleigh and we're on our way.
Special delivery for Reagan.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Holiday magic.
Thank you, everybody.
For those most in need of a bit of Christmas wonder.
Merry Christmas!
Priscilla Thompson, NBC News.
He's adorable.
It's amazing.
Thank goodness for Priscilla Claus. All right, that'll do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
Stay with us, though. The news continues right now. Good morning. Thanks for joining us this Thursday. I'm Savannah Sellers.
I'm Joe Fryer. Right now on Morning News Now, a president in prime time. President Trump taking to the airwaves overnight with a fiery address to the American people. Main focus, his record on the economy, touting first-year successes, while placing the blame for higher prices and financial anxiety on former President Biden. More from last night's 18-minute-long monologue, including some fact checks, plus the fallout that's engulfing Capitol Hill as voters eye next year's midterm elections. Also this morning, it has been nearly a year since that deadly midair collision over D.C.'s Potomac River. Now the federal government is owning up to at least some failures in protocol that ultimately led to 67 people losing their lives. The new court filings detailing what the DOJ is and is not taking the blame for, how the families of the victims are responding. Plus, a holiday health warning that could put a damper on all those festive get-togethers. Flu cases are on the rise, with the CDC now reporting millions of infections already this season. What experts want you to know before you hit the roads and runways in the coming days. And later in the hour, it is a beloved holiday classic that has been warming the hearts of generations every winter, even in 2025. A Charlie Brown Christmas still delivering on its timeless message 60 years later. Many people, it's their favorite soundtrack of the holiday season as well. 5 times platinum.
You know, it's Christmas time.
Exactly. All right, let's begin this morning in Washington, where President Trump delivered a rare primetime address at the White House last night.
During the bullish 18-minute speech, the president focused mainly on the economy and repeatedly blamed his predecessor, Joe Biden, for digging a hole which he says the country is now climbing out of. NBC News senior White House correspondent Garrett Hake has the latest. Garrett, good morning.
Hey, Joe, Savannah, good morning. President Trump's speech last night felt in many ways like a campaign rally speech on fast forward. The end-of-the-year address meant to tout progress on the border and the economy, with the president offering at times exaggerated and misleading claims to advance his arguments. All of it while repeatedly pointing fingers at his predecessor, President Biden, for what he says was the mess left for him to clean up.
President Trump addressing the nation from the White House, boasting about what he views as his administration's top achievements so far.
After 11 months, our border is secure, inflation is stopped, wages are up, prices are down.
Nearly a year into his second term, the president attempting to blame Americans' ongoing economic anxieties on his predecessor, mentioning former President Joe Biden 7 times.
11 months ago, I inherited a mess, and I'm fixing it.
In a rapid-fire address, the president ticking off what he called his administration's early victories, beginning on the southern border.
We inherited the worst border anywhere in the world, and we quickly turned it into the strongest border in the history of our country.
The president falsely claiming 25 million people entered the country illegally during the Biden administration, while Border Patrol statistics show the real number was closer to 10 million. Mr. Trump focused most of his speech on the economy and promising more relief is on the way next year, thanks to his tariff plan and the so-called Big Beautiful Bill.
And next spring is projected to be the largest tax refund season of all time.
But it comes amid persistent polling showing Americans souring on his handling of cost of living issues. And while some specific grocery costs have gone down, consumer prices generally have risen every month since April. Democrats have been hammering the affordability issue.
Somebody must have showed him some abysmal poll numbers.
The president also announcing what he called a warrior dividend, a holiday bonus for 1.4 million U.S. service members.
In honor of our nation's founding in 1776, we are sending every soldier $1,776. Think of that. And the checks are already on the way.
Mr. Trump says those military bonuses will be paid for with tariff tax revenue, but it's Congress that has the power to decide how any tariff revenue is spent. The president also touting his administration's targeting of alleged drug boats near Latin America, just hours after the Pentagon announced a new boat strike in the Eastern Pacific on Wednesday.
They decimated the bloodthirsty foreign drug cartels.
But the president made no mention of a potential military conflict with Venezuela, just one day after announcing a naval blockade of sanctioned Venezuelan oil tankers.
Garrett Haig, thank you very much for that report.
Millions of Americans receiving benefits under the Affordable Care Act are on the verge of a major hike in their health care premiums. It's because Congress is set to leave Washington for the holidays without extending those subsidies, which are set to expire at the end of this year. NBC News Chief Capitol Hill correspondent Ryan Nobles joins us from Washington with more on this. Ryan, good morning.
Hey, Joe, this is a real consequence. 22 million Americans get their health insurance through the Affordable Care Act and rely on those subsidies to keep their premium costs down. Those subsidies are set to expire on December 31st. And with Congress giving up on a plan to solve the problem, those premiums are set to skyrocket in the new year. But still, President Trump promising Republicans will make reducing health care costs a priority in 2026.
In his address last night, President Trump speaking to Americans who are worried about their health insurance costs spiking in the new year.
The current Unaffordable Care Act was created to make insurance companies rich.
Slamming the Affordable Care Act and defending his party.
It is not the Republicans' fault. It's the Democrats' fault.
The House narrowly passed a GOP-backed health care bill last night aimed at bringing down the cost of health care. That doesn't include an extension of subsidies that help keep the cost of premiums down for those on Obamacare. Without that, healthcare costs for 22 million Americans could double in the new year.
All of us are about to have our health costs skyrocket.
While the president and many Republicans say the subsidies are too expensive and won't bring down the overall health care costs. Some in their own party defecting yesterday, joining a Democratic effort to pass those extensions.
But I think everybody recognizes the fact that there needs to be an extension. There needs to be reforms.
Also on Capitol Hill yesterday, former special counsel Jack Smith testifying behind closed doors, defending the federal charges he brought against President Trump in 2022, including those related to the classified documents uncovered at Mr. Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate and the president's alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 election, both of which didn't come to trial. Smith telling the committee he and his team found proof beyond a reasonable doubt that the president had engaged in a criminal scheme. Republicans have accused Smith of a politically motivated investigation, which he has denied.
The special counsel said that the only reason that Donald Trump did not go to trial and was not convicted is because of the Supreme Court and because of the timing of it and him becoming president.
So what happens next on health care? The House will have to vote on a 3-year extension of the subsidies in early January. And moderate Republicans are hoping that forces both sides to come to the table to come up with a compromise plan to resurrect those subsidies in 2026. Joe?
All right, Ryan, thank you.
Well, the U.S. government is admitting responsibility this morning for the fatal mid-air collision between an Army helicopter and a commercial airplane that happened near Washington's Reagan National Airport in January. The horrific crash killed all 67 people on the two aircrafts. NBC News senior correspondent Tom Costello covers aviation for us. He has been on this story from the very beginning. Tom, this is a striking admission from the government. Good morning.
Hey, Joe and Savannah, good morning from Reagan. Yeah, absolutely. A stunning admission inside this 209-page court filing in which the United States government accepts responsibility for the crash here back in January that killed 67 people. Of course, as you remember, this happened when that Black Hawk military chopper, which was flying too high, slammed into an American Airlines regional jet coming in for a landing. That flight was coming from Wichita. So the language here in this court filing is rather blunt and direct, and it says the following. The United States government, it says, this is on behalf of the U.S. government, the defendants' collective failures, the defendants being the controllers, the military pilots, and the American Eagle pilots, the defendants' collective failures caused the mid-air collision that resulted in the senseless and tragic deaths of 67 individuals. The United States admits that the military chopper pilots, that's Pat 25, that the military chopper pilots and the American Eagle pilots failed to maintain vigilance so as to see and avoid each other. The local controller did not comply with FAA orders, and the United States is liable to a plaintiff who is legally eligible to recover certain monetary damages as permitted by the Federal Tort Claims Act. I will tell you, however, that the allegation that the American Eagle pilots bear responsibility seems to run contrary to the preliminary NTSB findings so far, and the family of the first officer on that American Eagle flight is taking exception to the United States language. The family of First Officer Sam Lilly says Captain Jonathan Campos and our son, First Officer Sam Lilly, comply with all required federal procedures and industry standard operating practices. They did everything right the night of January 29th. That from Tim and Sherry Lilly, the parents of Sam Lilly. The bottom line here is that this acceptance that the United States government is responsible will likely open the door to many more lawsuits on behalf of these families that lost family members and seeking compensation. The NTSB's final report is expected in the coming weeks in the new year, and that is when we will find finally a final determination on what caused this crash, this horrific crash. But very compelling now that the United States government preemptively has already accepted responsibility. And I would make one last point here, Joe and Savannah. When you've already had the FAA and the DOT on the record in these hearings and the military accepting responsibility for their failures, and the NTSB also pointing to these failures, it would have been very difficult for the U.S. government to somehow run against the expertise of their own witnesses that have already testified at the NTSB hearings. Joe and Savannah, back to you.
All right, some illuminating information there, Tom. Thank you.
The son of filmmaker Rob Reiner and his wife Michele is waking up behind bars this morning following his first court appearance. Nick Reiner is facing 2 counts of first-degree murder, accused of killing his parents. NBC News correspondent Morgan Chesky is in Los Angeles with the latest. Morgan, good morning.
Yeah, Joe, good morning. And as you mentioned, Nick Reiner is still behind bars, being held without bail following his first public court appearance. His defense attorney, Alan Jackson, encouraging people not to rush to judgment and to respect the process.
This morning, Nick Reiner remains behind bars without bail after making his first court appearance since being charged with the double murder of his parents. Famed director Rob Reiner and his wife Michele.
Has he passed the medical clearance today?
We expect him to be here today, yeah.
Inside the court, sketches show the 32-year-old in a blue protective smock. At the defense's request, the judge ruled Reiner could not be shown on camera. Reiner, who was shackled, only uttering 3 words in response to the judge.
Do you waive your right to a speedy arraignment?
His arraignment now delayed until the new year. His attorney, Alan Jackson, outside the courthouse.
There are very, very complex and serious issues that are associated with this case. Those need to be thoroughly but very carefully dealt with and examined and looked at and analyzed.
L.A. County's medical examiner confirming both Rob and Michele Reiner died from multiple sharp force injuries, with police sharing they were found in the main bedroom of their Brentwood home on Sunday afternoon. Surveillance video obtained by NBC News shows Nick Reiner just hours after their deaths, walking into a gas station and buying a drink. Moments later, surrendering to LAPD officers near downtown L.A. Rob Reiner's other children, Jake and Romy, releasing an emotional statement, reading in part, "The horrific and devastating loss of our parents, Rob and Michele Reiner, is something that no one should ever experience. They weren't just our parents. They were our best friends."
And Nick Reiner's next court date is tentatively set for January 7th. Again, those charges of first-degree murder come with a maximum sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole or the death penalty. But the DA making it clear that as of right now, they have yet to make that decision. Back to you.
Thank you, Morgan.
Well, in Rhode Island, investigators searching for the Brown University shooter are now looking for help identifying a second person.
Authorities say that person was in proximity to this person of interest, the one we've been talking about for a couple days now. He was seen on surveillance video near the campus the day of the attack. The gunman remains at large 5 days after the deadly attack on the Ivy League campus.
NBC News correspondent Aaron McLaughlin joins us now from Providence, Rhode Island with the latest. Aaron, good morning. So first, just one more. Can you tell us about the second person that police are looking for? Are there any other leads in the investigation like this big piece of news?
Well, Savannah, we don't know much about this new individual that authorities say they would like to speak with. What we know is that in the hours prior to the attack, this individual was also in the area of the campus about a block away, and he was in close proximity, authorities say, to this so-called person of interest, the person of interest being at the heart of this investigation. Now, what was the nature of their interaction, if any, is unclear at this time, but authorities once again appealing to the public for help. They want to find this individual and speak to them. They were asked in a press conference yesterday if this new individual could become an additional person of interest in this investigation. At this point, authorities not ruling that out.
So, Aaron, as investigators work together to piece together what happened, Brown is facing scrutiny over the lack of security cameras on campus. How is the university responding to this and that safety gap? Is it impacting the investigation?
Yeah, well, a big point of scrutiny at this point is the security cameras or lack thereof inside the building where the attack took place. Just to give you a picture, Joe, you can see behind me the modern part of the building. That part of the building has surveillance cameras. In back of that is the older portion of that building. That portion of the building does not have cameras, and that is where they believe the gunman entered and then carried out the attack. Yesterday, the Attorney General saying that he believes had the gunman entered the modern part of the building, they'd have a clearer picture of his face and he'd be in custody right now. So some tough questions for the university specifically about the cameras. The university putting out a statement saying that there's some 1,200 surveillance cameras on campus. They are not giving out a map of those cameras at this time for obvious security reasons. But they said in the wake of this attack, they will perform a review of security arrangements on campus.
All right. And Aaron, do we know how the 9 people that were injured during this attack are doing at this point?
Yeah, we understand from the hospital that 3 of the victims have been discharged from the hospital. The 6 remaining are in stable condition. 1 of the victims in critical but stable condition. Thankfully, all of them are expected to make a full recovery as this community continues to mourn the 2 lives lost.
All right, Aaron McLaughlin, thank you very much.
Hundreds of thousands across the Pacific Northwest are without power this morning. Fierce winds knocked out power lines in parts of a region that is already grappling with days of historic rainfall and widespread flooding. This morning, authorities say some trees are uprooted and damaging homes because of the oversaturated ground, like the one you're looking at right now in Tacoma, Washington, south of Seattle. NBC News correspondent Steve Patterson has been following this story for us all week and joins us with the latest from Preston. Steve, good morning.
Yeah, it's another day of anxiety for folks here in the Pacific Northwest, specifically when you're talking about Washington State. This is a state that has had multiple now back-to-back atmospheric rivers sending rain and floodwaters into communities, and now the possibility that even more rain may be on the way. You can see how swollen the river is behind me. There are several rivers across the state that are at or near flood stage. That is a dangerous situation. On top of what we've seen really across several communities, several interstates have been shut down. At least all the interstates have been impacted in some way. At least 13 have been shut down, at least partially or somewhat entirely. Now you're looking at, 600 rescues. There have been a number of emergency alerts for evacuations. We've been seeing the infrastructure, which has been stressed to the max. at least 2 levee breaches that we've seen within the span of about 12 hours. Several dams are now being monitored for the possibility that they may be at a critical point. So the governor is warning people. The officials in the state are also warning people, get ready and go, especially if you're in one of these low-lying communities. We've also, on top of all this, had a wind event recently, sending trees and power lines into recent roadways. All of this complicating the efforts on the ground to try to clean some of this up, to sustain some of the levees that are in place. We've seen the National Guard on the ground. There are other states that are now sending people into the state to assist with this effort. There are blizzard warnings now up in the higher elevated areas. So it really is a mess on the ground, and residents are bracing now for the possibility that there could be even more weather in the forecast. Back to you.
All right, Steve, thank you.
Now let's bring in meteorologist Angie Lassman for even more on what's ahead for those storms in the Pacific Northwest, and also get your nationwide forecast.
Hey there, Angie.
Hi, guys. Good morning to you. We've got a lot going on weather-wise, and of course gearing up for a lot of travel over the next couple of days. And a couple of things could slow you down. The first one is what you just heard Steve talking about, this atmospheric river that's already getting going here this morning across the Pacific Northwest. You can see the rain and the mountain snow that we're dealing with, kind of another shove of moisture onshore for folks here. So no surprise, flood watches are in effect, and you can expect to see those lasting through at least the early part of our weekend as we gear up for this next wave of heavy rain and snow across those mountainous regions. This is going to cause difficult travel because on top of the rain and snow, we've also got some gusty winds up to 50, maybe even 60 miles per hour. By tomorrow, the heaviest of the rain will be focused across Northern California, and then we'll see some of that mountain snow across parts of the Rockies. Between now and essentially the end of the work week, we'll see some isolated, pretty high rainfall totals, 8 to 10 inches. We know that this ground is already saturated. We've seen the problems that they've had so far over the past couple of weeks. The good news, if we can find some, is that we will see some of that heavier rain kind of focused a little farther south than it was with the previous atmospheric river event. Doesn't mean that we won't see the flood concern. Again, we've already had ample rain, so we'll be watching this through the next couple of days. On top of that, we've got wind alerts for 88 million people. Notice that midsection of the country and the Northeast included in those as we gear up for another day of some really gusty conditions. Yesterday, over 100-mile-per-hour gusts across Colorado. Today, we've got the potential through 50, 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts across parts of the Midwest and the Northern Plains. And then notice also parts of the Northeast included in that. Not quite as windy, but still 30, 40, close to 50-mile-per-hour wind gusts. You're going to want to hold on to your hat if you're out and about in New York City tomorrow. And here's why. We've got a storm system that's chugging along to the east. This is going to bring some cold rain to folks from the Great Lakes down to the south. It'll bring some snow showers the farther north you are, guys. So no snow falling along the I-95 corridor ahead of the holiday, but you will get a bit of rain. And if you want the snow, just head over to the Great Lakes. Yeah, that's where that lake effect snow will be ongoing tomorrow.
Just take a quick little drive.
Yeah.
Is there a holiday song about rain? Like
rain, rain, go
rain
away.
Christmas? I don't know.
Yeah, rainy Christmas.
We'll
I don't
work on
think so.
Thank you.
You got it.
Much more to come on this hour of Morning News Now, including where some new inflation numbers out today could play into your last-minute holiday shopping plans.
First, after the break, the fellow Chicago clergyman tapped by Pope Leo himself to lead one of America's largest archdioceses right here in New York. More on that next. Welcome back. There is a record-breaking $900 billion defense bill heading to President Trump's desk after senators overwhelmingly voted 77-20 in favor of the legislation.
And that bill includes $800 million worth of provisions to Ukraine, even though the president has been pressuring the country to end its war with Russia.
We're joined now by NBC News chief international correspondent Keir Simmons for the latest on this. Keir, good morning. Let's start with the defense bill. What is the U.S. giving to Ukraine here? Why are Republicans breaking with President Trump on this?
Well, $800 million over 2 years for Ukraine. It's not going to scare the Kremlin here in Moscow, honestly. It sounds like a lot. It's not a lot compared with, for example, the billions of dollars, billions of euros the Europeans are trying to see if they can unlock and make ready for Ukraine. We'll get to that in a moment, I think, Joe. But I think what that congressional bill does do is send a signal that there are those lawmakers in the United States that are determined to back Ukraine through these very, very difficult peace negotiations. Sends a signal to the Russians here. In principle, it would also enable the Trump administration to kind of say, well, there are people here, Mr. Putin, who want to put pressure on you, so you should do a deal now. Whether that is how it plays out is a different question. We just listened to President Zelensky talking in Europe and saying that President Putin wants to continue the war, he said, and President Trump has the ability to end it. We will see. The latest deadline from the Trump administration, of course, is Christmas Eve.
Keir, meanwhile, European Union leaders will meet at a summit in Belgium today, and it's going to put this massive decision on the table. It involves tens of billions of euros that could go to funding Ukraine's military, their economy. Why is this coming up now?
Oh, it's a huge deal. I mean, it's actually kind of pivotal, really. Now, that money is Russian assets. It's Russian money that's being held in Europe, specifically by the Belgians, or at least the Belgians have control over it. And what the idea is to use that money to support Ukraine through 2026, even through 2027. I mean, frankly, without that funding, unless the Europeans can find a different way to find that kind of funding, Ukraine is in real trouble. The Belgians are very, very worried that they are going to be punished by Russia and are not going to be supported enough. And this says so much about the European issues, the difficulties the Europeans have, doesn't it? That they're not going to be supported enough if they do agree to unlock that financing. We're going to find out. We're waiting, you guys, for President Putin to give an end-of-year speech tomorrow and question and answer session here in Moscow tomorrow. That's why we're here. What the Europeans decide to do today, I think, will colour what the Russian leader says tomorrow.
And Keir, we already did get a new warning from Russian President Putin. He spoke at an annual meeting with top military officers on Wednesday, saying Russia will look to extend territorial gains if peace talks fall through with Ukraine. You're there in Moscow. What else did he have to say?
Yeah, look, I mean, what President Putin said this week and what he has said now for weeks is that if we don't get what we want through negotiations, we will get it on the battlefield. And the kinds of things that he is talking about is to take more Ukrainian territory than he has been able to take since that Russian invasion in February 2022. The whole of the Donbass region, it's a very tricky thing for the Ukrainians to agree to constitutionally and also strategically because of where it would put the Russians. I will say that experts looking at the battlefield say that the Russians are making incremental gains. Putin says he's making real breakthrough is possible for the Russians in Ukraine. That's not what many experts say.
All right, Keir, we know we'll get more from you throughout the rest of the week. Thank you.
Well, new this morning from the Vatican, Pope Leo has appointed a new leader for the Archdiocese of New York.
NBC News international correspondent Claudio Lavanga joins us from Rome to take us around the world in 60 seconds. Claudio, good morning.
Joseph, good morning. Well, that's right. This is the first major appointment made by Pope Leo since he became Pope back in May. Early this morning, it was announced by the Vatican that Bishop Ronald Hicks, originally from Chicago, like Pope Leo, will become the new Archbishop of New York. In 2020, he was appointed Bishop of Joliet, Illinois. He will now replace the retiring Cardinal Timothy Dolan, who last week finalized the plan to establish a $300 million fund to compensate victims of sexual abuse who have sued the Archdiocese. Let's go to Myanmar now, where more than 200 people were charged with violating the country's voting law ahead of a general election planned for the end of the month. The new law, introduced in July, says anyone who disrupts the electoral process shall be punished with up to 10 years in prison and in some cases even a death penalty. Critics claim the arrests are part of a crackdown on opponents of the military government. Let's end this tour of the world back here in Rome, the set of the latest season of Emily in Paris, which returns today on Netflix. In the trailer, we see Emily fitting perfectly in the Roman way of life by saying she's late for work, like every Roman, while waits for a bus forever. While she continues her romance with a stunning Italian man, will Emily stick to the Dolce Vita or will she miss La Vie en Rose too much? Now, guys, apart from Emily in Paris, we recently also had Joe in Rome, who apparently, as this photo proves, he liked to hang out in the same places Lily Collins did while she was shooting here in Rome.
Really?
Exactly. We took that photo at the Hotel Eden, which overlooks the city there, and we saw that and thought, oh my gosh, the new season is coming. We actually think I saw in the last season where they shot that, they were in that hotel shooting a scene already. So a lot of Rome.
Love that. Wow. Claudio, you're where it's at. Thank you. Well, also this morning, we have a look at one of the top female bodybuilders in Europe. She is a 30-year-old from Afghanistan. But Roya Karimi's journey to become the world-class athlete that she is today did not come easily. NBC News international correspondent Danielle Hamamjian recently met up with Roya in London.
She was forced to marry at age 14, and by the time she was 17, Roya Karimi had escaped Afghanistan alone with her baby. And against all odds, this is Roya today.
Roya Karimi, Norway.
Representing Norway and almost unrecognizable as one of the top bodybuilders in Europe, recently coming in third at a major competition in Spain.
In a bikini, makeup, long hair, so you are the exact opposite of who people imagine when they think of an Afghan woman.
Yes, and I love that image. I worked hard for that image.
During a recent trip to London, we caught up with her.
Don't move your lower body. Okay, it's cheating.
Where else? At the gym.
Tell me how bodybuilding found you.
I saw every girl has access to go to gym, and it's part of their daily life. I just joined. For me, it was mentally managing my stress and becoming more and more strong physically, and it helped me.
Roya admits part of it is also therapy. She still carries the trauma of her early years in Afghanistan. There was no Taliban in power back then. Still, Roya says she had no basic human rights and was only allowed to attend Quran school. From child bride to teen mom to becoming one of countless Afghan migrants, she traveled to Iran, then Turkey, then crossed by boat to Greece before settling in Norway, where she trained as a nurse and raised her son Irfan. She credits her late mother for the chance she was given to leave one of the most repressive countries on earth to be a woman.
Sorry, I get emotional because maybe I was one of millions girls that had the chance to escape Afghanistan and building better future.
Roya has amassed a large following. Many of them Afghan women, now trapped under the Taliban regime, which won't let them go to school past the age of 12, won't let them travel without a male chaperone. They've even been banned from raising their voices in public.
Today, my heart is with my Afghan woman.
But there are also those who say Roya has brought dishonor to Afghans, that she's shameless.
You've also received death threats. Your accounts have been hacked.
She has a blunt message for her detractors.
Go to hell. This is my life, this is my body, and I know what's too far for me.
Her biggest champion? Her husband and fellow Afghan bodybuilder.
I think the workout's done.
Wait.
Yeah, okay. 3, 2, 1.
I will let you win. I will let you.
Danielle Hamamjian, NBC News.
No chance.
London.
I would lose handily too. All right, coming up, a holiday health warning for those hitting the roads and runways over the next few days.
After the break, what medical experts want you to know about a startling spike in flu cases this year and how you can stay safe around friends and family. That is next on Morning News Now. Welcome back. Across the U.S., cases of the flu are on the rise, even earlier than expected. The CDC is reporting about 3 million cases so far this season and actually 30,000 hospitalizations as a result of the virus.
And it's all hitting just before friends and families gather for holiday celebrations. NBC News correspondent Emily Ikeda is here with a closer look at the spread across the country. Emily, good morning.
Hey, guys, talk about an unwanted guest. Good morning to you. Some schools are closing, hospitals are increasing visitor restrictions, and health officials are encouraging people to get the flu vaccine as cases are multiplying just ahead of more holiday travel and celebrations.
'Tis the season for coughing, fever, and body aches.
Freaking terrible.
As this morning, cases of the flu are accelerating nationwide, just as families are poised to pack planes, trains, and holiday celebrations.
The numbers that we see rising astronomically probably don't
really reflect the true numbers because most people aren't getting tested.
Nearly 3 million people already have confirmed cases of the flu this season, according to the CDC, with particularly high activity in Colorado, Louisiana, New Jersey, and New York, where cases are 5 times greater than this point last year.
Not only did it take me out, but it took out 10 of my coworkers.
Pediatrician Dr. Lena Shabaran works in New York City.
The concern is for younger children who might not have the greatest capacity to cough and spit things out and blow their nose. It can sometimes lead to secondary infections.
North Carolina just reported its first pediatric flu-related death this season. While in other parts of the country, the virus, spread by coughing and sneezing, has led to hospitals tightening visitor policies and schools temporarily shuttering classrooms, from Brooklyn to Woodbury, Minnesota. The Math and Science Academy saying flu-like illness is currently affecting more than 20% of our student population, switching to digital learning for the rest of this week. And school officials in southern Kansas decided to get a head start on their holiday break because of a tremendous amount of sickness right now, spreading at a very high rate.
My lungs have been hurting. I've been coughing, sneezing, wheezing.
It ran through part of the Nimke household, even forcing Jen's 10-year-old son, she says, to go to an urgent care after a high fever and hallucinations.
We showed up 10 minutes before it opened. There was already a line waiting for people to get in. So this is absolutely in our community.
And last year's flu season resulted in the highest hospitalization rate since 2010. Experts say the best way to protect yourself is to get the flu vaccine, but the CDC reports immunizations are down this fall, guys.
You can still get one, right?
You can still get one, and
even
it can help you later in the season as well if there are different strains as we watch it mutate, especially ahead of these holiday gatherings and all that travel too.
Thanks, Emily.
Thanks, guys.
Happy holidays.
Let's get a closer look now at what's making news in the world of politics this morning, starting with new installations at the White House disparaging President Trump's predecessor.
With that story and more, let's bring in NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Melanie Zanona. Mel, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Joe and Savannah. We begin in the White House, where President Trump is taking his trolling to new heights. The White House has installed new plaques on the exterior of the building mocking Trump's predecessors, including Presidents Joe Biden and Barack Obama, and promoting disinformation. The plaques were hung below presidential portraits that have been on display on Trump's recently added Presidential Walk of Fame in the White House colonnade. The one placed under the portrait of the Autopen, which stands in place of Biden's portrait, refers to him as Sleepy Joe Biden and the worst president in American history. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt told NBC News in a statement that Trump wrote the text of many of the plaques. Next, the FCC chairman in the hot seat on Capitol Hill. Federal Communications Commission Chair Brendan Carr testified Wednesday before a Senate committee, where he told lawmakers that the regulatory body is not an independent government agency. That position counters his previous public statements and the office's own website. Carr argued that the FCC is not formally an independent agency because commissioners can be removed by presidents. Carr was also grilled over his threats to broadcasters earlier this year over the Jimmy Kimmel Show, which sparked concerns about government censorship. And finally, the HHS is cutting millions in grants to the American Academy of Pediatrics. The move comes as the organization is suing HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. over vaccine policy. The canceled grants supported initiatives aimed at reducing son and infant deaths, improving teen and youth health, preventing birth defects, and identifying autism early. In a statement, an HHS spokesperson said the grants were canceled along with a number of other grants to organizations because they no longer align with the department's mission or priorities. And that is a look at what's making news in politics this morning, guys.
All right, Mel, thank you very much. Coming up, inflation is back in the national spotlight this morning, and on the heels of that pretty lackluster jobs report earlier this week, will today's new numbers serve as a 1-2 punch to wallet-weary consumers?
Of course, we have got our economic dream team standing by. NBC's Brian Chung and Investopedia's Caleb Silver. They're digging into the data, what it could mean for your finances as we head into the new year.
Maybe you can teach us that handshake when we come back. We are back with some breaking economic data. The first inflation report since the government shutdown ended last month is now out. Inflation rose by 2.7% in November year over year. There is no month-over-month figure because the October report was canceled due to the shutdown. Here to talk more about this, our dream team, NBC News business and data correspondent Brian Chung and Investopedia editor-in-chief and chief business editor at People Inc., Caleb Silver. We are happy, as always, to have you both with us. Brian, I will start with you over at the big board. Just walk us through these numbers, how they kind of fit into the rest of the year.
Yeah, well, this is a really complicated report. In fact, there are a bunch of blanks in this report, in part because of the government shutdown during the entire month of October. But we did get numbers covering November, which we can look at on a year-over-year basis to say, okay, what did inflation look like in this country? It was obviously the focus of the president in his late-night address yesterday. But what we're talking about here are better than expected numbers. If we're talking about November to November of last year, over that year period, prices increased by 2.7%. That was below what economists had expected. They were expecting something closer to 3.1%. So inflation being lower, that is certainly a good thing. If you look at the year-over-year chart of all these numbers, you can see that certainly, yes, the worst was in the summer of 2022 when we were at 9% inflation. So 2.7% for the month of November, not that bad. That's around here. But again, this is a really complicated situation because we can't actually connect the dots between these two because we don't have October numbers. The Bureau of Labor Statistics, which usually collects this data, was closed for business. They just simply didn't get it. But nonetheless, you can see the trajectory over the last, let's call it 2 years or so, looking pretty steady in terms of consumer prices, although, of course, those of the Federal Reserve would really prefer that number be closer to 2%. 2.7%, though, not bad.
Caleb, let's bring you in here. What's your reaction to this report? What's it sort of tell us about the wider state of the economy?
Yeah, partial data, but a better trend than expected. Inflation is still a thing, 2.7% growth. So that's there, but we are looking at incomplete data, so to speak. Brian, I'll take you through the main categories, but consumers are still paying for the things they can't avoid, paying more for the things they can't avoid, like utilities, like shelter prices, like when they dine out. So that's definitely weighing on their wallets. That said, this is tamer than we expected. It could influence the way the Fed makes its next move when it meets later. We'll talk about that in a minute, but not too bad when you look at this.
Brian, let's go through those categories.
Yeah, so when we talk about the categories, again, we can only do year-over-year comparisons because we don't have October numbers. But comparing November of this year to November last year, food prices went up by 2.6%. That was better than the previous year-over-year reading of 3.1%. So food inflation coming down, although, again, that's still a plus sign. Prices are still going up despite the president's insistence that prices are going down. Energy costs, get this, up 4.2%. Electricity is a big one. That's something that Americans are thinking about as they're trying to heat their homes. Those year-over-year costs closer to 7%, 6.9% to be exact. And then shelter costs is the biggest one for most Americans, going up by 3% during the month. That is actually slower than the 3.2%, I believe it was, or 3.6% it was in the prior reading. So again, that is certainly a big cost for Americans, just putting a roof over your heads. I should also point out that apparel, these are costs that a lot of people are thinking about as they're going out and shopping, essentially flat from where they were a year ago, only up 0.2%. That might be because of the discounting in November with Black Friday sales as well.
All right, Caleb,
Yeah, well, 41 days, 9 minutes, and 5 hours. I'm not counting, you're counting. The Federal Reserve will meet on January 28th for the next interest rate decision. There's only about a 25% chance the Fed will cut again.
Okay.
And as of the last meeting, it only looks like the Fed may cut 1, maybe 2 times in 2026. Now, this all depends on the labor market. We did get that sort of weaker than expected jobs data from the past couple of months earlier this week. If that continues to weaken, the Fed will probably cut rates more than once in 2026. That'll bring rates down again, but it could trigger some inflation. But if you have a number like 2.7%, the Fed's not going to be too concerned about inflation. They're going to be worried about the jobs market.
Brian, also, people might be sort of like confused, like, hey, why are we getting some data when there was a shutdown, but not other data like inflation? Tell me how it is collected exactly. Help us understand.
Yeah, I mean, the jobs report, which you talked about on Tuesday, was super complicated because we got some data, we didn't get other data. But actually, for this one, it's a little bit more cut and dry. We just didn't get any data at all for the month of October. They basically tried to predict certain categories, but for the most part, there were a lot of holes inside this report. And the reason why is because they have to collect data on 80,000 goods and services across the entire country. They also, in some cases, survey households. These are all things that you need government workers to do. When the government was shut down for the entirety of October, they couldn't go back once they got back into the office in November to retroactively ask what those prices were. That's the reason why there's no data for October, essentially.
Brian and Caleb, dream team. Thank you both. Let's stay on your money now. Amazon tapping a new AI chief. NBC News business and economy reporter Emily Lorsch has your Money Minute. Hey, Em, good morning.
Hi, Savannah. Good morning to you. Amazon is reshuffling as the race for smarter technology heats up. The tech giant is reorganizing its AI teams, putting AWS executive Peter DeSantis in charge of a new group that combines AI, chip making, and quantum computing research. The move comes as AWS faces fierce competition from rivals Microsoft and Alphabet. And the latest OpenAI partnership is DoorDash. The delivery company is launching a grocery shopping app inside ChatGPT. Users will be able to get meal ideas and place orders directly in the chat. This comes just a week after DoorDash's rival Instacart rolled out its own app in ChatGPT. The new app is currently available to select users and will be released more widely in the coming weeks. And Southwest is leaning into a certain numerical meme, calling it the, quote, trendiest sale ever. The airline is offering basic economy tickets on many flights in the coming months for, wait for it, $67. As you may have guessed, it's a nod to the viral 6-7 trend.
Oh my.
The sale ends tonight. Savannah, my theory here is it has to be whoever came up with this sale. They have kids who are obviously Gen Alpha. They've been hearing it all the time, so why not make it a sale?
Emily, you didn't say those two numbers right when they're next to each other anymore.
And I will never.
Oh, come on. And you did you do this? I don't know. You weren't on camera.
I did not.
6-7. All right, Emily, thank you very much.
That was great, though.
Honestly, I'm not over it. Coming up, some of your fondest holiday memories given the 2025 treatment after the break, the booming industry that's allowing nostalgia-minded customers to digitize their home movies and photos. We'll explain next. Finally this hour, if you are looking for a last-minute Christmas gift idea, we've got one for you. More and more people are turning their old home movies and physical family photos into digital media. The growing trend that allows your precious memories to be downloaded, posted, and shared is exploding nationwide. NBC News correspondent Maggie Vespa has more on this from Chicago. Maggie, I know this is personal. You and your family try this out, and we're going to get to take a peek.
Savannah, we definitely did, and you definitely will, so brace yourself, okay? My family, as you point out, we came in here, actually, and these are some of the tapes that we brought in. Places like Chicago scanning booming across the country, and they have, look at this like trove of old VCRs and video viewing equipment, and you can see they're converting someone else's home movie to digital media as we speak. It's this great holiday gift idea, especially for families like mine who want to save, as you point out, a few tapes in particular.
Through the magic of home video, you're going to see it all.
The time-honored family tradition of recording special moments to relive later, perhaps during the holidays. This morning, fueling a modern trend of digital conversion. Case in point, Windy City-based Chicago Scanning, who just moved into this 3,000-square-foot office.
You've expanded.
We have, yeah, we're growing.
Owner Jason Davis is seeing a swell of customers eager to convert old home movies and photos into digital files to preserve or post on social media.
The nostalgia of the 80s and 90s is becoming more popular. People want to kind of relive these memories.
It's part of a booming industry, including mail-in options like Legacy Box and iMemories. Even the National Archives asking for help digitizing historical documents. At Chicago Scanning, customers are flooding in for the holidays. Every family with a story.
You've talked about doing this for years.
For years. My mom, Kay Vespa, preserving more than a dozen tapes of our holidays and birthdays. Although
there is one tape in our family that is legendary, and it's the kid newscaster tape.
Yeah.
Captain America is in town today to declare a war on drugs in Chicago.
A decades-old gem recorded at the Chicago Children's Museum with my big brother Mike on the desk.
The weather today in Chicago will be sunny and warm.
And 5-year-old me as meteorologist. Some moments smoother than others.
55 degrees in the city, 54 in the 45 in the suburbs.
I knew it was golden. You couldn't have done it better. It's really
one done better.
Yeah, well.
That's debatable.
A special memory we'll relive for years to come.
We're about to be together for the holidays. What's it like to have these movies preserved?
Can't put a bow on it. That's the best gift.
Thanks for watching.
So insane to see that. Savannah, I said cue the online roasting. Really quick, for families who are considering this, we recommend reading the reviews, considering in-person options versus those mail-in options near you. There are great versions of both. And if you can narrow down the price by watching the tapes ahead of time, figuring out which ones you really want to transfer. If you don't have a VCR, a lot of local school districts and local libraries have ones that you might be able to borrow. But Savannah, for us, I'm sure you can imagine that kid newscast was really top of the list of the tapes we had to see.
Adorable, adorable. Maggie, thank you so much. And you know who else thought it was adorable? And this brought up some memories of our own. My mom and dad, Ron and Patricia Sellers, are in the house for the holidays, and so they had to make a little appearance. Dad, it reminds me of one of my favorite home videos of ours. You were recording. You made, if I was allowed to go to the homecoming dance, the pictures of everybody had to be at our house prior so he could, get a read on the thing. He's filming the girls, and in the video, he zooms to the boys and says,
"Here's the enemy."
It's a good one. We should digitize that. Love you guys. Great to have you here.
Love you too.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now. Stay with us, though. The news continues right now. Good job.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.